School communities suck at actually getting results, and here's why. If you look online, most school communities are what looks like on the left side. It's literally a community with information overload, countless courses, videos, trainings, SOP. There's so much free stuff, but yet no one gets results. What needs to happen is we want to get a result. Instead of having information overload, we need a mechanism or a system that actually allows people to experience a transformation from point A to point B. And that's why school communities suck. This is my community right now. And if I scroll down, I have tons of value, tons of resources, digital assets, and systems that my clients could use. But the problem is they could click here, start here, but then they're just going to get lost. What should I click next? What should I focus on first? How do I know which one is the most important thing in my unique scenario? So that's our goal today, to take what we have in our school community, restructure it, and build something or a mechanism that allows people to go from point A to point B, and a way where they can clearly see that they're getting a transformation. This is very important because if you run a school community or you plan running a community, you want to have a community where people can get results continuously so that they don't churn, you make more money, and you don't need to constantly work harder with each single community member or client that comes into your world. Because then if they need to ask you on what to do, then you're just going to be spending extensive hours answering people's questions instead of having the system do its work. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's dive into it. Wait, if this is your first time watching this series, in this series I document everything that I do to build leverage in my business to eventually earn $50,000 a month in working just 2 hours a day. Now, in last episode, episode 4, we launched and we actually validated the email sequence. So what does that mean? That means now every single email subscriber ideally will then become a customer. So the next step is, now I have these customers, I want to invite them into a community where they're able to get results by themselves. Because the goal for me, for this business that I'm running, is to get people to get results with a system and a mechanism that will do the job for me and not rely on me answering countless questions and needing to do all the work for them. So we need to have systems, tools, and assets, or a clear roadmap or path that shows people how to go from point A all the way to point B in the most simplest way possible, straight. Because the faster I can get people results, the more people that can join my community, get a transformation, the better it is for me. It's a feedback loop. More results, better case studies, better marketing, more clients, more money, etc. And it grows from then. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating this FigJam board where people can see what they could do, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and exactly what assets they could use to solve a specific problem. So for example, everyone starts with a welcome video, and after the welcome video, they start with the fundamentals. Everyone needs to do this, which is find the time to do 2 hours of work every day. The biggest problem a business owner has is, well, finding the time to focus because they're just so busy working in their business. So there's 2 things that goes into digital minimalist checklist, which is reducing their time on screen, their screen time on their phone and wasting time. And the next part is the 2-hour performance workbook, which is how to find those 2 hours every single day and how to do it consistently. Then there's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So this isn't complete yet, so this is going to be the work in progress. So going to be updating you guys as I work on this. All right, as I was working on this, I was working on the phases, trying to think where I should put things, but I found a way simpler way to do things. Here, let me show you. So instead of having a phase structure, I could just show visually the model. So instead of people thinking, oh, I must follow these things step by step, which I think I will still create because I think having a roadmap from someone who's completely new would be helpful. But what if they're more advanced and they just need help with specific things instead of doing things from day one? Because then if they're going to be confused with doing things that they already have fixed in their business, they're just going to be confused. Again, they're going to ask me questions. Hey, where do I start? Do I start here or there? So I'm actually thinking of doing 2 things. I'm going to have the phase-based structure, which I'm going to work on, but I realize this is much better. So right now, check this out. So this is the model that I run with. So the 2-hour system. Pretty much this is how I help clients become more productive and to maximize their performance to make the most money out of their time. which is the goal of leverage, to increase the dollar value of your hour. So it starts with energy, clarity, focus, leverage, and then feedback. So what I'm doing is I'm pretty much mapping out what are the assets I have, or what are the checklist tools they need to do to improve their energy. For example, if there's someone struggling with energy, they could go through this, click on these things, and immediately access the stuff that will help them improve their energy. So for example, clarity, I'll put them over here, focus, leverage, and so on. But this is the real thing that I'm really excited and happy about, is the two-man business model. So, like running a business is not straightforward. You can't just, the system is not going to be like installed in a click of a button. There's things that you need to learn, things you need to build, like marketing, sales. So there's a lot of things that comes into it. So, and a lot of people have different problems. So let's say they have a problem with getting views. So then I could have these assets they could click on for views. So they could click on this, and they'll get the assets. Or for example, let's say they don't know how to write emails. So they could have these assets, they could click here and so on. So now this makes it much more interactive. And as people solve problems, let's say I solve my traffic problem, I know how to get email lists, it feels like they're progressing. It's much better to do it this way. And then the final thing is I'm going to have databases. They could check out some databases and tools. So on how to execute the model, they can get access to tools. So everything there is to execute will be clearly laid out. They could show how to do it and so on. And this is going to be a game changer, because if I could show this, if people can go in and visually interact with the community and the things they need to do in their business, it will make it 10 times easier for me, because instead of them asking me, hey, Rashid, how do I do this? They could just reference the visual reference and they could click on things so they can implement it themselves. They don't know how to do something, they know they're struggling with something, they can click on here and they'll get direct access to something that'll help them immediately right away. And if you work with a team or you have a lot of clients, then you probably want to have a place where people can navigate all of your frequently asked questions, SOPs, videos and stuff, so that they could get the answer themselves and they don't need to ask you. Because if you're running a business and you're answering questions, that's such a low leverage activity. You should be productizing yourself, extracting all the information from your brain and documenting it.
Making money should be a function of your identity and what you like to do, productize and yourself. Whenever you're doing anything in business, if you're looking towards the long term of getting wealthy, you should ask yourself, is this authentic to me? Is it myself that I'm projecting? And then am I productizing it? Am I scaling it? Am I scaling with labor or with capital or with code or with media? So it's a very handy, simple mnemonic.
All right, so I've been working for the past 2 hours and we've come across a roadblock. Okay, so we got good news and bad news. Good news is I made a lot of progress in mapping out all of the workshops, resources, tools, and everything into more interactive visual map. So if I go on here and I can click one of these, let's say I click on this one, it will actually pull up a element on Skool over here. So people can go over here and they can click to watch the video and they could click links over here so they could access different parts, what they need. But the problem is there's so much stuff that I haven't documented yet. So everything that I put in gray is stuff that I need to create for the community or things I need to create. So that's good news and bad news. Well, technically it's good news because I have clarity in what I need to build out. Bad news is it's not there. So I guess it's good news regardless. Well, the real bad news here is it still feels like there's a lot going on over here. So a lot of the workshops I created previously are workshops that touch upon multiple topics at once. I talk about trying to solve a complete holistic solution instead of solving one smaller solution. So I had to break down the workshops into smaller bits and pieces and then put it in, because I might have answered the question in another workshop. So it's really hard to connect everything together. So this took a lot of effort over here. And the next thing is, as you can see here, so this is the model over here. So how I work in the two-man business model. All this stuff over here is like training and workshops on how to do the thing, like the principles. But then there's also systems to it. So like, what are the systems that allow me to do these things? So I put that at the bottom. So there's systems over here. So the YouTube, social media, Notion pipeline, the email schedule, and so on. So there's other systems that I haven't recorded workshops yet Maybe because over the past few months I've been focused mainly on workshops, teaching people how to do things, but I haven't given the system. So these are things I need to build out. And the next thing I want to do also is I want to have databases where people can access things very quickly. So only AI prompts, if they want to know only AI prompts, they can go to AI Prompt Vault. If they want to go to Digital Tool Vault, they don't know how to use a tool. Let's say, for example, I'm using FigJam right here. How do I use FigJam? I could have FigJam in this database showing exactly how to use FigJam. Templates and checklists. So let's say there's a checklist. For example, it's the digital minimalist checklist, how to reduce your screen time to 2 hours and regain 4 hours per day. So that could be a checklist. So I want to have everything cleaned up in a way so people can access tools and systems in their preferred way. So if they want to access it this way, they can. If they want the systems, they can click on the systems. They could install whatever system they feel is relevant to them, and the database. So they can go through the databases and figure out what are the things that are relevant to them. So what AI prompts can they use? Now, the next thing I was thinking, okay, like the hard part is that there's still a lot here. So is there any linear process that puts everything together? So this is the business side. I also do performance side. So if I go to the performance side, because this is a big philosophy I talk about. A lot of people would talk about business strategy, marketing, content, systems. That is so important. But the most important thing that most business owners struggle with is actually doing the work, is actually building and implementing the systems, which is what the Hour Man system comes in. So the Hour Man system is all about maximizing your focus on the things that will gain you the most amount of leverage in your business. So a lot of business owners struggle with getting the energy first. Okay, their days are not optimized for energy. They don't know what to focus on. They don't know how to manage their day, and they don't know how to actually focus and for how long, how to pace themselves, and exactly what to focus on in building in their business. So what I have here is I mapped this out. So every single new community member will go through this process. They'll go through the 2-hour performance workbook, and then they're going to implement these 4 systems step by step, which is a daily performance tracking sheet, alignment board, a war map, rise.io, and how to use a 2-hour plan, how to plan their 2-hour days, and then AI business process flow mapping, which is how they map out their business so they know exactly what's the high leverage. So these are the systems. But again, I like it viewing it this way. It's good for me, and it's also good for clients in a way where they could click things, they could see how things connect. But again, if someone comes to the community, if they look at this, it still feels like information overload. So the next step, what I need to do is I want to go ahead and complete linking all of the things that I have available here. Again, and also I'll create a roadmap for myself on what are the things I need to build next. But the next action item, critical action item, is to then create a checklist, at least for the first 4 weeks. What's the first thing you should do? What's the next thing you should do? Like, for example, week 1, what's the action items you need to get done week 1? Week 2, what are the action items? Week 3, week 4, so that by week 4, they have a good foundation. They're already doing 2 hours of deep work every day. And then what they can then reference it to Hour Man business, and they can decide, okay, what are the things that I need in my business, and I can implement that. Then I want this to be kind of customizable, because if I tell everyone, hey, you must do this first, they already have their problem solved. They don't need that. So this is kind of like diagnosing themselves, what they need to solve in their business. They could do that. But no matter what, every single business owner that comes into my world has to do this, because this is relevant to every business owner. If they don't do this, and they struggle, and that's what most business owners struggle with. Let's dive in. All right, so this is the 3rd day working on this. We're going to try to push and finish everything today, because if we don't get it done today, then we're going to be behind, because I still need to post a YouTube video, and I plan on launching the community in 2 weeks. I'll need to have this ready, or else I won't have a clear roadmap. What are the things I need to build? And then I'm going to be creating a video sales letter on the community and all this stuff, the onboarding. So this needs to be complete. So let's dive in. All right, so here's where I started to even break down all of the workshops I had into smaller bits and pieces, because there in some parts of the workshops I answer some questions that are smaller. So if people have that question, I want people to navigate to that specific workshop. And I decided to start creating checklists over here. So we made some pretty good progress. So there's this workshop I've been working on. It was very long, and it didn't have a checklist. So check this out. So now I have this checklist where people can follow exactly how to implement the Hour Man business model. So this makes it awesome. So I can create different checklists for different phases. One for 0 to 10K, one from 10K to 30K, and one from 30K and above. So yeah, this is coming out really nicely. I'm transforming workshops that I have, creating checklists making it easier for people to access information that they need to execute. All right, so here's where I decided to work on the checklist. I use AI to help me out a lot here. But what was happening here is, my workshops, I answer multiple questions at once. So in a workshop, I might go over how to write emails, how to set up your landing page, how to set up a lead magnet. So what if someone just wants one specific thing, how to write an email? So then I'll need to link people towards that specific part of the workshop so they can get that question answered. And then there's other workshops where I might cover the topic in a different way. So it's kind of all over the place because I did these workshops in a way where I try to solve a complete problem. And usually that takes covering multiple elements, multiple sides of things. So yeah, it's not like everything is bit by bit and so easy to put linearly. It's kind of like I need to link people towards different workshops. And that took a lot of work here with the checklists. All right, so I made some good progress, but there's still a big problem. So the thing is, I do business. So like I mentioned earlier in this video, in order for someone to get a transformation, there's a lot of things they need to learn how to do. Create content, YouTube video, email list, landing page. There's a lot of moving parts into it. So my main concern is someone joins a community and they're just lazy and they're just consuming information and they don't actually take action. Because again, the goal is not information overload or people to consume information, but to actually take action to get the transformation at the end, which is to run a business that they could operate in 2 hours a day and that is profitable, makes them more money, it allows them to serve their life. So let me show you what we got so far here. So I've been working with AI, trying to create a roadmap from week 1, week 2. So this is pretty much going to be week 1 is the performance, getting the performance right. Week 2 is making sure they set up a warm up so they can actually focus and build the things in their business. So that's how we start. Week 1, week 2 is simply setting up the fundamentals, getting them to know how to focus every day, getting them their stuff. So let me show you how that looks like real quick. So this right here is my warm up, right? So here I can plan everything. This is kind of like my dashboard that I can plan my business. So every single day I know what to do. Okay, so this is going to be the first things we're going to set up. But again, this creates another barrier because people that don't know Notion or don't like Notion won't be able to use this. So that is another thing I need to manage. But I'm going to have this the first few weeks because if they can know how to manage their day, then they can actually execute. Because the biggest excuse or the biggest problem that everyone has is execution. They freaking have the information, but they don't freaking do it. So I need to give them tools so they can actually execute and focus. Again, once you execute and focus, you can build things and make money in the business. So that's week 1, week 2, getting their performance systems installed. Then it starts with the foundation, which is the core offer, identifying their platforms, setting up an email system, then getting into the client acquisition, whether they're going to do, if they have an audience, how they could get their offer in front of people, growing their email list, getting the first clients, optimizing and so on. So yeah, working on this, but again, the difficult part here is putting in this way where no offense to most people are not resourceful enough. So the people that would buy stuff, generally, most people buy stuff for a scapegoat to save them. So I need to have that in mind because the average person is not resourceful or thinks for what they want. They want someone to spoon feed. So I'm going to try to make this as much as possible where people can go through this and they know exactly what to do. Because again, I do not want people that are paying not that much money to send me messages to know how to do things. When my clients that are paying me more money, I should be giving them the most amount of attention, not people that are paying a very low fee, asking me to solve problems in their business, especially when they're not resourceful enough. So I need to keep that in mind, building this out so everything is tight and they have stuff over here. So yeah, gonna take a break, gonna get back to work, and hopefully the next time I talk on camera, we'll have something completed, ready to ship, and we'll have a clear path towards launching the community in a way where people get a transformation without my intense involvement and crazy input. So let's see, keep you updated. Okay, so massive update. So I came across this app called HelpKit, and what HelpKit can do is it can transform your Notion workspace into something that looks like this. So someone can come on here and they could ask a question. So this is an application called Hypepure. So if someone has a question, like how do I schedule a tweet? Okay, so now it has questions here. So I'm thinking I have all of my workshops on Notion. Let me show you very quickly without sharing intellectual property. Let me show you 1 second. So I have all of my workshops on here. So I was thinking, what if I could plug in that into that tool and people could ask questions and it would redirect people to the specific workshop that will help them out. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'll keep you updated. I'm gonna work on this and let's see what comes out of it. Okay, so after I got the checklists, I realized that I've discovered this app called HelpKit, and this was a game changer for me because instead of having the checklist on Notion and then direct people to Skool, I could just put everything under HelpKit and I can manage HelpKit using Notion because it syncs with Notion. And I create all my workshops in Notion. So this makes it much easier for people to navigate because then I can create links. I could link stuff on Notion and it will be on HelpKit. It will look clean. So it works way better. Okay, so it's been a crazy past 3 days, maybe 4 days, but this has been the highest leverage activity I've done in my business. And if you haven't done this, I recommend you to do this because you're going to have so much clarity on what you need to build to regain back more time. So first thing I did was at the start, I created this visual and I realized, okay, so I use systems to improve my energy, clarity, focus, and leverage. And what I use a Hour Man OS for that. But the thing is, the Hour Man OS is very in-depth. And for someone to join my community, that itself is a 16-week program. So what I did was I decided to strip out all of the complex stuff and give just the bare bones in something called the Hour Man OS Lite. So click on this, it will pull up the Hour Man OS Lite, and it looks like this. Now, this isn't ready to be shipped, but this is something I'm going to be working on behind the scenes to get this done. But basically, the first 2 weeks, people are going to implement the Hour Man OS Lite, which is an implementation of what I talk about on performance and not productivity, which is actually putting your focus on the things that'll grow your business and making sure you know how to execute. Okay, I'm gonna actually next episode I might do a tour of that. So if you want that, comment below and I'll make sure to do a tour of that in the next episode if you're interested. Okay, then they go through a 2-hour performance workbook, which is the fundamentals on energy, clarity, focus, how to set up their day and so on. It's the fundamentals. And then Hour Man OS is a system. And the system has 4 core parts, which is the daily performance tracking sheet, how they can track their health, their sleep and everything. That's optional if they want to do that. But the most important one here is alignment board, is getting that, and the calendar management. So making sure they plan their day in advance. Then it's rise.io and planning their 2-hour work blocks, which could be done on Notion. Again, I'll do a tour next week. And then the AI business process flow mapping, which is an AI prompt that people will do first, or once they start doing their 2-hour deep work sessions. Next thing is we want to know what are the things that you should build out in your business. So we'll have a prompt that allows them to discover what are the bottlenecks in their business. Okay, then there's some extra databases that I have. I used to be a performance coach, so a health and performance coach. So I actually have other databases that might be helpful. So like how to cook food in 50 minutes lesser time. So how to make nutrition simple and easy so you can fuel your body with energy, and how to work out in a gym in the most effective way to build muscle. So I was a fitness coach, health and performance coach before. So I'm going to be giving that to community members as a bonus if they join. So it's included in this. Now, once people have the system set up, they got their performance nailed down, they're able to do 2 hours of deep work, they can execute, because that's the number one problem. The number one bottleneck, the number one obstacle for people getting results. I've noticed this in every single community. If you run a business or you're a coach or a consultant, the number one reason why people churn or choose to quit is because they simply say, hey, I couldn't execute. I don't see the value in this anymore. So people need to execute. So if I can solve their problem right away in the first week or two, and we get their productivity or performance problem solved, then implement the business and getting results, making money is going to be easy. Okay, so that's going to be the first thing. Phase 1 is that. Then they could go through this visual, they can click things and can do that. But the cool thing is there's not only a visual. So there's people that might join that they might be swamped. So this visual is great because it gives you a picture of how things work. Okay, so week 1, week 2, we're going to go through Hour Man OS. So getting that done. Week 3, we start going through the Hour Man business model. This gives them a visual. They understand what needs to happen. Future pacing, they're more excited. They could see the route from point A to point B. Okay, so the cool thing here is next is I have, let me pull this up here. So cool thing is I put everything on HelpKit and it's awesome. It's so good. I could have different categories. I like this better than Skool because I use Notion a lot. I love Notion. It is much easier for me to manage Notion than to manage on Skool, because Skool I need to upload. It's just not easy to create content there and to update it. It's just so much work. So I do all my stuff on Notion, so it's so easy. I can just copy paste what I have on Notion, put it here. So I can show you how this looks like on the back end. And if you want to use HelpKit, I'll put in my affiliate link below. But basically it looks like so. So I put the knowledge base, I put all of this, and this syncs to HelpKit. And the best thing about HelpKit is I can go on here and I can search, like, let's say I want to search war map. Okay, so I can go here, there's war map here, checklist, so there's different stuff. So I go to week 2, so that's week 2. So again, this isn't like a completed help center or a knowledge base. This is something I'm going to be building over time, and I'm very excited because any question that a client or someone asks, I could create a guide, a video SOP, put it on here, and it's easy to navigate. Skool is like, it's so hard because there's like you can still search on Skool, but Skool is like, I need to go through the video, I need to do that. What I could do here is I could take the video, take the transcript and put it there so people can even like search through video content so they can identify which, where they can get help. And I haven't put the AI thing yet here, but you can put AI here to help you search through content. So the goal here is to have it self-service, fully self-service. Okay, so let's go over an example of here. So if I go back to the visual, if I click, oops, is this lagging? Okay, so if I go back to my visual, over here, I can click the one-time offer funnel, and what's going to happen is it's going to open up the HelpKit. So now people can be like, okay, how do I do the one-time ticket funnel? They can go through here and they could apply this. I'm not going to share this because this is intellectual property sensitive, but basically people can click on here. So let's say, for example, operational systems, the minimalist map to 500,000, which is the introduction to the model, which is here, right? So people can go through this, they can watch stuff. And my favorite part is, this is still a work in progress, it's not going to be done. What I'm going to do is I'm working on the roadmap. So week 1 all the way to week 16, I had AI to help me do this, but basically I kind of have a template here. This is functional. So I can go to week 1 and I could have action items. So step 1, go through the workbook. They can click on the workbook. I'm going to blur this out, but they can go through the workbook and they could execute the workbook. And once they execute the workbook, they can do the next step, which I'm going to have step by step exactly what to do, SOP. So it's hand holding. So week 1, they actually set up the system. Week 2, they actually have their system set up on Notion and they already have their week planned. They already know how to plan their days. They already know exactly what to focus on. They can execute and they fix their productivity problem and performance issue by week 2. And by week 3, we're already going into the business model and fixing stuff in their business and getting stuff. So this is just a placeholder, but it's functional already. And I really love how it looks. I'm so satisfied and I'm so excited because I know I can create the best program out there with the right tools like this. Because at any time I can go on here. I love Notion, to be honest. Anytime I can go on here and I could add new stuff. So let's say a checklist, right? Like how to create problem-based perspective to content grow your email list worksheet. Okay, so like if you want to grow your email list, you want to get more attention on social media, you can check out this checklist. So it is kind of like a toolkit that my clients, anyone can go through here. They can search the article, get AI, get help without asking me personally, and I love it. This is so good. So yeah, next episode, the plan is going to be potentially running through a walkthrough of the Hour Man OS Lite, giving you updates on launching the 2-Hour Club, which is going to be based around this. So I'm planning on relaunching the 2-Hour Club at a more affordable rate because now I have an asset here that could serve people without my time. So that means I can reduce the price. So if you are somewhat interested in joining the 2-Hour Club, you can feel free to send me an email at Rashid@thepeakperform.io. I'll put in the link, I'll put in the description below. You can send that. If you want that, click the link in the description, and looking forward to the next episode, giving you an update on how things are going to be going.